How many reasons for working safely can you think of? A safety bonus? To improve the company's safety statistics? Some people might say the obvious reason is they don't want to suffer through physical pain or the emotional sadness of seeing a coworker hurt on the job. People often don't consider that when someone is injured at work, that person is not the only one who suffers. The injured worker's family suffers too, as they endure grief, stress, and the loss of income. Do you have a spouse or other family members that you could depend on for home care if you were injured? What would they have to sacrifice to take care of you? Minor injuries can affect your income while you recover, and while workers' compensation insurance could cover certain medical costs and a portion of income, an injured worker's expenses are often much higher after an injury. A severe injury could have long-lasting effects on your health, finances, self-esteem, and your family's quality of life. Take a look at the aspects of your life that make you happy. You'll realize that you have many important reasons to work safely. Within the sawmill sector of New Brunswick, many risks await employees who are unprepared for or unaware of hazards. Both inside the sawmill and outside in the yard, things happen quickly. The environment can be noisy and fast-paced, and equipment is sharp and powerful, and the potential for injury is everywhere. That's why you have to think about each and everything you do. Employees must follow all safe work practices and procedures. They must wear all the required personal protective equipment and never take shortcuts with safety, not even for a second. Sawmill workers have to be aware of their surroundings at all times and often have to work near moving equipment. Their health and safety depends on their safe work habits, safety equipment, and a commitment to a team approach to safety. When something goes wrong, it happens very quickly. There are many injured workers out there that wish they could go back in time and follow proper procedures and safe work practices. The creation of an orientation package specific to sawmills will draw awareness to safety in the sawmill community. Companies have an obligation to their employees and to the law to provide a safe working environment, and that begins with safety orientation. When a company has a comprehensive orientation program for new employees, there are many benefits to both the company and the employee, including a reduced risk of injuries and accidents. This video is part of your orientation package as a new employee. It will help you to become aware of the following: the sawmill processes that you can expect to see in your new role, as well as some common hazards that sawmill employees are exposed to on a daily basis. How to control these hazards, how these hazards can affect your safety and the safety of others. Orientation helps increase the efficiency of a new employee, and it also demonstrates the company's moral obligation to protect the employee from harm. The Occupational Health and Safety Act's main purpose is to protect workers from health and safety hazards on the job. The OHS Act details both general and specific duties on all workplace parties to exercise health and safety practices. The Act requires employers to provide for a healthy and safe workplace. making them directly responsible for implementing and monitoring health and safety, with penalties for non-compliance. Health and safety officers of WorkSafe New Brunswick have the authority to inspect workplaces, investigate complaints, investigate accidents, and issue orders for non-compliance.
Things that we can do to prevent what happens.
The OHS Act also gives employees 3 basic rights: the right to know about hazards on the job, the right to participate in health and safety initiatives, and the right to refuse unsafe work. As an employee, you have a responsibility to report all accidents and incidents to your supervisor immediately, no matter how minor. By reporting accidents, we can reduce the risks and make the work environment safer for everyone. The Occupational Health and Safety Act is New Brunswick's cornerstone legislation for workplace health and safety. The Act defines new employees as any person who is new to a position or place of employment, returning to a position or place of employment in which hazards have changed during the employee's absence. A person who is under 25 years of age and returning to a position or place of employment after an absence of more than 6 months. An employee affected by a change in the hazards of a place of employment. If you fall into any of these categories, then you should be subject to a new employee orientation, as well as proper training specific to your new position. The Act indicates that the employer shall ensure that a new employee receives orientation and training specific to the new employee's position and place of employment before the employee begins work. Also specified in the Act are elements that are to be included in employee orientations. Name and contact information of the employee's supervisor. Contact information of the employer's Health and Safety Committee or representative. Any rights, liabilities, and duties of an employee as stipulated in the Act, including reporting requirements and the right to refuse to perform an act.
Accident, hazard.
Health and safety procedures and codes of practice related to the new employee's job tasks. First aid facility locations and relevant information. Emergency procedures related to reporting illness and injuries. Use of personal protective equipment. Under the OHS Act, all workers have the right to refuse work if they have reasonable grounds to believe their safety or the safety of others might be endangered. Although exercising this right should not be done as a routine method of solving workplace problems, a worker cannot be disciplined for exercising their right to refuse. In your new position at the sawmill, you will probably encounter many processes that you are unfamiliar with. Each process at the sawmill has hazards you must be aware of. In the wood yard, logs are unloaded from trucks and piled in the yard. The logs are then delivered to the mill for intake and sorting. Rolling logs, as well as vehicle and heavy equipment traffic, are common hazards in every sawmill yard. Be aware of your company's personal protective equipment requirements and policies around pedestrian traffic. Within the sawmill, logs are debarked, sawn, planed, sorted, and stacked. The atmosphere can be noisy, dusty, and fast-paced, with many hazards. Sharp blades, moving conveyors and chains, and airborne debris are just some of the potential hazards sawmill workers must be constantly aware of. Be aware of your surroundings and don't hesitate to ask questions. After the wood is processed, it is usually dried, packaged, and prepped for delivery. Employees must exercise caution when working around cranes, loaders, trucks, rail cars, and packaging equipment. Accumulated wood dust can be dangerous. Sawmills must manage wood dust so that they do not present a risk of fire or explosion. If at any time you are unsure about a task on the job or are concerned about your personal safety or the safety of others, you should talk to your supervisor about additional on-the-job training. Every sawmill will have its own list of safety rules that employees will be required to follow. The following is a list of common rules to help you identify and avoid the most common hazards. Follow all job instructions carefully. Do not take shortcuts. If you do not know the safe way, stop and find out. Alcohol or illicit drugs are not permitted on the premises at any time. Your manager or supervisor will discuss your company's alcohol and drug policy with you in greater detail. Follow all lockout procedures. Each piece of equipment has a specific method to de-energize it and make it safe so it can be repaired or adjusted. Your manager or supervisor will discuss your company's lockout and tagout procedures with you in greater detail. Wear proper eye protection when applicable to your company's policies. Safety glasses protect your eyes from dust, dirt, wood, and metal. Familiarize yourself with the locations of eye wash stations at your facility. Wearing gloves when handling lumber or performing other duties will reduce or prevent injuries to the hands.
Okay, go ahead.
Some jobs require that special gloves be worn for safety. Be sure to use the correct hand protection for the job you're performing. Many sawmills require hearing protection to be worn in designated areas. Hearing loss happens gradually and is not reversible. Your manager or supervisor will discuss your company's hearing protection policy with you in greater detail. Protect your feet and head by keeping your safety boots and hard hats on and in good condition, especially the soles of your boots and the liner of your helmet. Wear safety boots to prevent serious injuries. Wearing a reflective vest will greatly increase your visibility when working in the woodyard to make you more visible to truck drivers and equipment operators. For added safety, yield to equipment operators and make eye contact with them when driving in the mill yard. Dressing appropriately for your job will reduce the risk of injury. Improper clothing could result in entanglement or other hazards. Running on the premises is not permitted, except in the case of an emergency. Horseplay and fooling around are very dangerous. Never distract the attention of another worker, as you might cause them to be injured. Under no circumstances should compressed air be used to clean clothing or footwear. Only use compressed air on the job for which it is intended. Do not clean your clothes with it. Do not fool with it. Never blow air against anyone. Wearing a dust mask will reduce risk associated with working with dust. Special masks or respirators for fumes may be required in certain areas or when working with specific chemicals. Your manager or supervisor will discuss your company's respiratory protection policy with you in greater detail. Never stand or walk under a forklift or hoist loader. Never oil a machine while it is in motion, unless it has a proper guard. Never use makeshift or defective scaffolding, rigging, or stages. All workers at heights greater than 3 meters must make use of proper fall protection equipment. Your manager or supervisor will discuss your company's policy on working at heights in greater detail. Do not attempt to lift or push objects that may be too heavy for you. Ask for help when you need it. Learn to lift the right way by bending your knees to not hurt your back. For safe climbing on stairs and ladders, always use the 3 points of contact rule. Each worker is responsible to keep their workstation tidy and clean. Slippery and cluttered floors cause falls. Keep the floor clean. Accumulated wood dust can be dangerous. Sawmills must manage wood dust so that they do not present a risk of fire or explosion. If you see someone working carelessly and are liable to be hurt, warn them about it and advise them to work carefully and safely. Safety begins with teamwork. Obey all warning signs. Read the safety bulletins that are posted. All instructions and rules posted on company property or equipment are there for your protection and should be respected. In case of emergencies, you must know the locations of fire extinguishers and fire equipment, and know the proper use of firefighting equipment in your department. You must also know the location emergency exits, first aid stations, and eye wash stations. Be aware of emergency telephone numbers and who the trained first aid responders are. It only takes a moment to think about the best way to do your job safely. Assess your surroundings, wear the proper personal protective equipment and clothing for the task, and apply safety work procedures. The reasons for working safely no longer apply to just your place of employment. Responsibility for safety applies to your personal life as well. If asked, what reasons would your family give you for working safely? Take responsibility for safety, not because it is asked of you by the company, your boss, or the law, but because your life and the lives of your coworkers could depend on it. Work safe for yourself, for your family, and your friends.